Hi, I'm Clayton Aiken, a founder and the managing leader at Aiken Henderson CPAs in Calgary, Alberta. We specialize in Canadian and U.S. tax, accounting automation, business systems, culture, and leadership. I want to talk to you today about tax loopholes and the problem in our tax system and how Bill Morneau has just made it quite a bit worse. Our tax system is complicated, overly excessively complicated. My Practitioner's Income Tax Act is comprised of 2,253 double-column pages of tax law, notes, remission orders, tax treaties, and more, not including the 195-page index. There are entire sections of definitions in this thing because the language that is used in it does not produce self-evident results. Our tax system is an intricate spiderweb of different income scenarios, tax credits, deductions, provincial tax, federal tax, payroll tax, GST, and much more. All of this has been dreamt up by multiple generations of politicians trying to raise nation-building funds, but almost always with an eye towards scoring political points with their voting base. It's a mishmash of complex policy that's been patched together over decades. The CRA requires 5 times the employees per capita to enforce our tax laws than the IRS does in the United States. Even with CRA's mega workforce of 40,000, they are so completely overwhelmed by our complex tax system that when taxpayers call them, because they don't understand the income tax system either, taxpayers can expect to receive the wrong answer 30% of the time, if they're lucky enough to get through at all. A 2017 Auditor General report concluded that the CRA blocks 50% of their phone calls because they simply don't have the capacity to handle the call volume, and that even includes the automated system. Get this, Canada's tax system is based on the self-assessment principle, meaning that you have to prepare and file your own tax returns for yourself and the corporations that you own. You have to report your own income and calculate whether or not you are owed tax refund or if you owe tax to the government. Most Canadians have little or no understanding of the tax system. Hell, most accountants barely understand it. Thus, one of the great injustices of our income tax system, it is so amazingly complex that it is very difficult and expensive for taxpayers to properly comply with it. It is no wonder that Bill Morneau struck a nerve with Canadians of all stripes on July 18, 2017, when he released proposals to change the way that entrepreneurial families are taxed in Canada. Bill Morneau proudly proclaimed that his proposals would level the playing field between those who create jobs and those who receive jobs. The original proposals that were released were so offensive and poorly thought out that Canada's business community and tax community revolted. There were 21,000 submissions made during the 75-day consultation period, including scathing submissions from the most reputable financial, accounting, and legal bodies in Canada. Even Canada's own Standing Senate Committee on National Finances recommended that the government completely abandon the proposals, and then a few months later the Senate passed the final version without any questions. The Department of Finance released what was called Minister Morneau announces next steps in improving fairness in the tax system by closing loopholes and addressing planning strategies. I find the word loophole to be offensive. There's only the law. Using the word loophole insinuates that prior governments passed laws which did not capture their intentions at the time. That's quite a bold idea. During the consultation period, many tax experts submitted much simpler ways to accomplish the minister's stated objectives and pointed out that the proposals impact businesses of all sizes, not just the wealthy ones. The government's original release uses the word fair, or variants of it, over 70 times. Is it fair to burden our tax system with an additional 27 pages of convoluted, vague, offensive tax legislation, which require an additional 47 pages of explanatory notes? This was eventually reduced to 11 pages of new legislation and 24 pages of explanatory notes. The final fair version of this legislation is still rife with half-finished thoughts and ambiguities that will keep the CRA, tax lawyers, and our court system busy for a decade until the loopholes in this new legislation are firmed up by Canada's judiciary. This is the hallmark of poorly drafted legislation. The final version of the legislation focuses on 2 areas: tax on split income, applying a punitive tax to dividends that are paid to certain family members who own shares in family companies, as well as passive income, applying a punitive tax to income on savings accounts corporate savings accounts that the Liberals deem to be too large. And by the way, the tax rate on income on passive accounts in a Canadian-controlled private company before these changes was already north of 50%. In my view, the Liberals' approach to making the income tax system more complicated and ambiguous is not the brand of fairness that Canadians deserve. We think that Canadians deserve a tax system that is simple, fair, and even for everyone. The Chartered Professional Accountants of Canada have long advocated for a tax system overhaul to ensure efficiency and to remain competitive in the global market. Taking on the challenge of meaningful tax reform would be a big job that would span many years, but it is what Canadians deserve. Canada needs a total overhaul of our tax system. If you want to learn more about how Bill Morneau's tax changes will impact your small business, please don't hesitate to call us today.